Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about this new program that could help benefit first-time home buyers and give them up to a $25,000 cash grant. So back in June, the Biden administration announced that they are working on drafting up a bill that would benefit first-time home buyers by giving them a $15,000 tax credit. Well, now it has changed to $25,000 and it's no longer a tax credit, but it is a grant, which the difference between that is a tax credit, you would receive that money back after you file your taxes at the end of the year, whereas a grant is cash up front at closing. This means at closing, you do not have to necessarily have the cash for the down payment. I mean, just think of it this way. You buy a home at the start of the year and you have to have all that cash saved up front for the down payment, the closing costs, all that, and then you go the whole year paying off your mortgage, you know, your insurance, and then you don't get that money until the end of the year when you file your taxes. That's difficult, but now you just get the money at closing. Okay, I know what you guys are all thinking. Hurry up and tell us how you qualify for this. So this form of the program is a little more strict than when it was originally written. Originally, it was just any first-time home buyer. Now it has to be any first-time home buyer whose parents are not homeowners. The legal definition of that is your parents cannot have owned a home. However, if they owned a home but they lost it due to foreclosure or a short sale, then you would still qualify. Or if you grew up in foster care, you apply. The next restriction for this is an income restriction, which I think we kind of all expected this to happen, but you cannot make more than 120% of your area's median income. However, if you live in a high cost area, this limitation bumps out to 180% of your area's median income. So if you fit any of those requirements I just listed, you would be eligible for a $20,000 grant. However, they added an additional $5,000 to anyone who's part of a group that is subject to racial or ethnic prejudice. Another great thing is that this grant would work if you have an FHA, a USDA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mae loan. So pretty much all the basics. So that is what the draft of this bill looks like right now. Like I said, it's just a draft. It still has to go through the Senate and the House to get passed as an actual bill. So there's probably a lot of changes that are gonna happen. It's already changed quite a bit. So who knows what actually is gonna happen. But let's talk about the positives to this. So the first positive to this is its intended purpose, which it makes home ownership more accessible, especially to those who have not had really as much of an advantage of home ownership. And home ownership is a really tough thing to get. So once you have it, you're at a really big advantage. So this help closes that home ownership gap. Second positive to this is it is cash available to you at closing. Like I said earlier, that's huge. You don't have to wait until the end of the year when you file taxes to get that money back. It's available right at closing, so you don't have to have as much upfront cash, which is huge because a lot of deals die because the appraisal comes up lower than the sale price and you have to cover that difference in cash. If you don't have to have as much cash for the down payment, then it could get put towards that, which a lot of homes right now are selling above market value. The third positive to this is you can really utilize the full grant. So this grant is not only eligible for down payments, but it's also able to be used on closing costs, which a lot of people forget about and can sneak up on them. But also any extra can be used to pay off additional interest. So let's say you get the $20,000 grant, but your down payment is only $5,000. It's not like that extra $5,000 is gonna be wasted. That can be put towards closing costs, and anything after that can be put down to pay off more interest. So you get to use the full grant. But let's talk about some less amazing things about this program, and that's gonna be the negatives. So the first one is that this is gonna increase demand, right? More people are gonna be eligible to buy homes, which means there's gonna be more demand in the market for first-time home buyers. And right now we are in a market where it's really high demand and really low supply, which if you took Business 101, high demand, low supply equals increase in prices. So a lot of people are worried that we're just gonna increase the demand of an already heavy demand market, and that's just gonna increase the prices of homes even more. Negative number 2 is even if you qualify for this grant, you might not be able to still buy a house, or the house you buy you may not even want to buy. So since there's an income restriction, it limits the amount of money you can make and still qualify, and homes are an all-time high in price value. So this is where it kind of conflicts, right? So I live in Salt Lake City, so I'll use that as an example, but here our area median income is $87,500. However, the average cost of a house in Salt Lake City is around $500,000. So even if you apply for this grant, let's say you have a conventional loan that requires 20% down, that means you're gonna need $100,000 cash at closing just for the down payment, not including closing costs. And even if you get the $20,000 grant, that's great, but you're still gonna have to have an additional $80,000 cash. That's gonna be your full year's salary saved up. But let's say you do find a house in your area, it might be not a desirable area. It could be, a neighborhood that's across from a factory where a lot of people in that neighborhood are facing health effects from it, and you might not want to live there. Or you find a house that you can afford, but it has a lot of cracks and leaking in the house, and it just costs too much to fix it up to make it actually livable. So the third negative is that there is actually a limit. You have to live in the house for 5 years. So if you're planning to use this to flip it or something like that, it's not possible, because each year you live in the house, it reduces the payback on the grant by 20%. So if you only live in the house for 3 years, that means you're gonna have to pay back 40% of this grant when you sell it. Now, 5 years isn't like a crazy amount of time, but it's still long enough where it could cause issues if you don't have necessarily like a stable lockdown job, like you're not sure where you'll be in 5 years. I mean, I bet a lot of people did not expect, what's happening now with the pandemic 5 years ago. So sometimes 5 years is a little too far ahead to plan. Okay, those are all the positive and negatives. Let's talk about some unanswered questions. So the first question I have is, if you read the actual document, which I'm gonna have linked down below in my description, it says you can qualify for up to $20,000, which makes me think that you can qualify for less than $20,000, right? So how do they decide, who gets 10,000, who gets 15,000? It's not explained. It could be based on area or maybe income. That is still unknown. Question number 2 is, what if you're buying this home with a partner? It doesn't say anything like, do you both qualify for it? Do you get a double dip and get 2 grants? Does only one of you get it and you just share that? Or what if one of you qualifies but the other doesn't? Do you get half a grant, or do neither of you guys get it then because one of you has parents that has home ownership? None of this is explained, which I think it will later on, because when they were doing the stimulus checks, they had a whole section dedicated on household income where they talked about the income of 2 people. So I think that's gonna be something they're gonna discuss later, but currently it's not written up anywhere. Third question I have is, one of the requirements for this grant is that your parents can't have owned a home, which means, wouldn't your parents qualify for this first-time home ownership if they also don't have a home? So then it's like that whole question where, do you have to tell your parents, like, wait till I get a home before you use this grant? Or like, if your parents use it before you because they found a house they can't just pass up, then do you no longer qualify for this grant even though they were part of this program as well? That's something that I feel like could cause some issues and some family tension. My fourth question is, if you listened carefully when I was talking about all the loans that qualified with this, you might have noticed that I didn't mention VA, which is a veteran's loan. So what about them? They're not listed in the document. Are they gonna not be part of this program? Are they gonna have a separate VA program that's slightly different to this, just for the veterans? I have no idea, but I'm really surprised that they aren't listed, because they kind of listed all the most common loans, and VA is a pretty common loan that people use. So the final question that is on all our minds is, when is this gonna get passed? When is this gonna become a bill if it actually does pass? Is it gonna be relatively quick, or is it gonna be like 3 years out? Is it worth waiting for this? I mean, this is a lot of money, and you know, it's upfront cash at closing. That's amazing. It's almost too good of a deal to pass up, but is it worth waiting on a maybe? Because this could very well not even get passed, or it could change so much. So it's kind of a tricky situation. It seems like it's moving really, really quickly, but you just don't know. Anyways, that is this really, really interesting program. Let me know down below what you guys think about this program. What do you guys think could be improved on? What do they need to add? Any unanswered questions that you guys found with this? Leave them down below, because this is really, really interesting to me. And I mean, it's huge if you're actually becoming a first-time home buyer and you qualify for this. This is something definitely you want to watch. I'm definitely going to be keeping up with this bill because it's really, really big for first-time home buyers if you do qualify. So if you're interested in hearing, you know, on any changes, or if you're just interested in real estate finance or investing, that is what this channel is dedicated to. Definitely leave a subscribe so you don't miss any of my videos. I try and upload every single Sunday, but besides that, I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye guys.